The old man from Pawn Stars was the most important person in the gold and silver loan shop. He was known for his sharp wit, straightforward attitude, and huge collection of historical artifacts. He was the head of the Harrison family and helped make a small pawn shop famous enough to be on the hit TV show. People loved him because he always had surprising insights and was known for being grumpy. What surprising facts are hiding behind the old man's rough exterior? To find out the real story, watch until the end. Fans of chess stars know Richard Benjamin Harrison Jr. as the Old Man. His life was full of twists and turns before he became a TV star. Harrison was Irish and was born on March 4, 1941, in Danville, Virginia. Even though Richard's family didn't have much money, he worked hard and never gave up. Richard didn't put much stock in the family story that connects them to Presidents William Henry Harrison and Benjamin Harrison, but his grandson Corey has talked about it. Harrison's family moved to Lexington, North Carolina, when he was only 1 year old. They lived at 115 Peacock Avenue. Living in a small town wasn't fun, and the Harrisons had a hard time making ends meet. While Richard was a junior at Lexington High School, he dropped out to help support his family. He started driving a school bus when he was only 14. He parked it at home every night and got up early to pick up kids. He only made $5 or $6 a week for this hard work. When Richard was 17, his life changed in a big way. He met Joanne Rue at a barn dance. She was the daughter of a famous county judge named Joseph Rue. In the end, Joanne's dad would become the top lawyer for Philip Morris in North Carolina. They fell in love right away and got married in 1960. Before they got married though, Richard got into a lot of trouble. When he was caught stealing a car, the judge told him he could go to prison or join the service. Richard made a choice that would have a huge impact on his life. He joined the Navy. Richard became a member of the U.S. Navy in October 1958. Not long after they got married, Joanne got pregnant with their first child. When they gave birth to their daughter Sherry, she had Down syndrome. This was a big problem for the whole family. They had 3 more kids after that, named Joseph, Rick, and Chris. In February 1962, Richard quit the Navy so that he could get medical benefits for taking care of Sherry. He then joined again 14 months later. It's sad that Sherry died when she was only 6 years old. Harrison worked in the Navy for 20 years and moved up slowly until he was a personnelman first class. He served on many ships and in many units. The first jobs he had were on the ships USS Orleck and USS Twining, both of which were based in San Diego. During this time he served on the cruiser Orleck and learned what it's like to live on the open sea. Harrison had to give up a lot of things to serve in the Navy, and he had to spend a lot of time away from his family. The attack transport ship Harrison moved to Tactical Air Control Squadron 21 at Little Creek, Virginia, in 1966, after having served on the USS Fremont. Harrison had to spend even more time away from home, because this unit was in charge of coordinating air operations for amphibious and expeditionary troops. Harrison kept moving up in his job despite the problems. During his tour with the cruiser and destroyer group staff in San Diego, he was promoted to first-class petty officer. Harrison's longest stretch of duty at sea was from 1971 to 1975, when he was on duty on the fleet tug USS Choanook. During this time he was sent on multiple deployments to the Western Pacific and Vietnam, which shows how hard and dangerous military service can be. He spent his last 4 years in the Navy at the Shore Intermediate Maintenance Facility in San Diego. After many years at sea, he liked being on land. Harrison chose to leave the Navy in 1979. After 20 years of service, his choice was affected by the fact that he had to support his wife Joanne, who had started working as a real estate agent. Joanne got her license to be a real estate agent in 1970, and in 1973 she opened her own office. After he got out of the military, Harrison worked part-time in Joanne's office to help her run the growing business. But the economic slump in the early 1980s, which was marked by interest rates going up to 18%, wiped out their business. By 1981, the couple was broke because they had lost more than $1 million and all of their real estate deals had fallen through. The last thing Richard and Joanne had left was $5,000. They took a chance and moved to Las Vegas, Nevada, with their 3 boys. They opened the gold and silver coin shop with their son Rick in April 1981. The first store they opened in the pawn business was this small 300-square-foot one at 1501 Las Vegas Boulevard. Even though they had problems at first, the Harrisons kept going. After 5 years they moved to 413 Fremont Street, which was a bigger building. They were sad that they had to give up the lease after only 2 years. That year, 1987, they got a permit to buy and sell used things. Their dream for a long time was to turn their store into a pawn shop. There could only be one pawn license for every 50,000 people who lived in Las Vegas in 1955 though. By 1988, Las Vegas had a lot of new residents, and Richard carefully watched the cities to see when they could apply for a pawn license. By 1989, when Las Vegas had more than 250,000 people, the Harrisons finally got their long-awaited pawn license. There was a gold and silver pawn shop at 713 Las Vegas Boulevard South that year. It was right next to the Las Vegas Strip. As time went on, their business grew. By 2005, they were lending about $3 million a year, and making about $700,000 in interest. Jewelry quickly became the most common thing people brought into the shop, which helped their stock grow a lot. In July 2011, the store had an amazing 12,000 items, with about 5,000 of them being pawned at any given time. Richard was always the first person at the shop in the morning, because he was known for being very dedicated. In 2010, he had not taken a sick day since 1994, which was very strange. Because it had unique sports items, the shop became known for its quality as it grew. As of 2006, they had a very nice library, one of which is a New England Patriots Super Bowl ring from 2001 that belonged to cornerback Brock Williams. People who liked to gamble could also go to the shop and often got quick cash to use on their next betting run. Richard Harrison, his son Rick, his grandson Corey, and Corey's friend and co-worker Austin Russell, better known as Chumlee, were on the History Channel's reality show Pawn Stars in July 2009. The story of the Harrison family took a dramatic turn at that time. The show became a big hit very quickly, and Richard was a no-nonsense grumpy but likable figure. Chumlee once talked about how grumpy Richard was, and Richard himself admitted that he was an old grump. The gold and silver pawn shop became famous, thanks to Pawn Stars. It only took 10 weeks for the show to become the most popular show on the History Channel, and the second most popular reality show in general, after Jersey Shore. This huge rise in fame meant that a lot more people came into the shop. Every day the number of customers went from 70 to 700. There were between 3,000 and 5,000 people in the store every day by February 2012. Richard Harrison's effect went far beyond the walls of his pawn shop, and he received many awards and honors. Oscar Goodman, the mayor of Las Vegas, gave him the key to the city in March 2010. He was with his son Rick, grandson Corey, and Austin Chumlee Russell. This award showed how their popular show Pawn Stars has added to the culture life of the city. That was not the end of the accolades. The Pawn Stars crew was the grand marshals for the History 300 NASCAR race at the Charlotte Motor Speedway on May 26, 2012. This made them even more well-known and liked in the United States. A few days later, on May 29th, Richard went back to Lexington, where he grew up, and Mayor Clark Newell gave him the key to the city. It was officially named Richard Harrison's Day, which is a touching tribute to his roots and long-lasting impact. The Clark County Commission made July 17, 2012, Pawn Stars Gold and Silver Pawn Day as a sign of group spirit. Richard gave the Clark County Museum a very kind gift of $1,000 during the event. He also gave the museum the U.S. Senate floor chair that Senator Patrick McCarran used but sold to a pawn shop in an episode so that it could be shown. He did these things to show that he cared about history and helping people in the neighborhood. The effect Harrison and his family had was known all over the country. He and Rick were both considered for the Time 100 list in 2012, which is a sign of how influential and well-known they are. Besides these official honors, Richard also went to events that showed off his larger-than-life attitude. He gave a great speech at the American Country Awards on December 5, 2011, and his appearance made everyone happy. He kept supporting different causes, and on February 25, 2012, at the Silverton Casino Lodge, he was a special guest at the Star Bingo Bow Wow charity event. All of these awards and performances show how well-liked and respected Richard Harrison was, both inside and outside of pawn shops. People still remember him through his family, business, and the many awards that were given to him for his work and accomplishments. Richard Harrison died. He was 77 years old. His son Rick Harrison told everyone about his death on June 25, 2018. Richard's family said that he went peacefully over the weekend, with his family and friends by his side. He helped to start a gold and silver pawn shop, which made a touching tribute to the family patriarch on Facebook. On TV, he was known for being wise and sometimes grumpy, but he was also recognized as a loving father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. People often called the old man the brains behind the brawn because he was so important to the pawn shop's success. Fans of the History Channel show loved him because he gave straightforward advice and was funny. His legacy, which was built on hard work and persistence, lives on in fans and the pawn shop community. The fight Richard had with Parkinson's disease was a private one that ended in his death. Even though he was having health problems, he was always in the shop and on the show until the end. There was a big hole in his family's lives, and in the hearts of many fans who admired his character and knowledge after he died. His wife Joanne, their 3 kids, 10 grandchildren, and 5 great-grandchildren, will miss him. Richard left his fortune to Rick to take care of in his will, leaving his youngest son Christopher out of any inheritance. Even though it was a popular choice, it showed how complicated family relationships are, which is something that is often hinted at but never talked about on the show. 2 days after he died, Pawn Stars showed an episode called A Treasure Remembered to honor him. The episode had memorable clips of Richard in emotional interviews with people who knew him best. They were honoring the man's life and memory, who had become a TV icon. The old man left behind a big close-knit family. His legacy goes beyond his TV appearances. It is strongly rooted in the lives of his children and grandchildren, as well as in his marriage to Joanne Rue Harrison. In 1989, Richard and his oldest son Rick Harrison opened the gold and silver pawn shop together. Rick now owns the store with his son Corey. His book, License to Pawn Deals, Steals, and My Life at the Gold and Silver, was a New York Times bestseller, and is about their time there. Rick was very close to his father, and his touching Instagram post about Richard's death said a lot about how close they were. He talked about losing more than just a father. He also lost a friend and a teacher. One of Richard's kids, Joseph Kent Harrison, had a life very different from the family business. Joseph joined the well-known biker gang in Las Vegas, taking part in different illegal acts over the years. The most famous thing he did was break into a house in 1997, which got him charged with major crimes. Joseph got a jail sentence of 4 to 10 years, but he only spent 2 years there because he was good. His actions made things worse between him and his family, especially after it came out that he had accidentally roped in his dad in a gang fundraiser. Rick was said to be very angry about what happened, as Joseph had used their father to help him with his illegal activities without them knowing. Richard's wife, Joanne Rue Harrison, was very important to the family's business. Joanne liked to stay out of the spotlight, but she was very important behind the scenes. She was a part owner and ran the shop like a boss, making sure everything ran smoothly. Even though she wasn't well known, Joanne was very important to the family's success. There are also a number of grandkids in the Harrison family. Big Hoss, Corey Harrison, is one of Richard's grandkids, who is probably the most well-known. He is a regular on Pawn Stars. Corey has been in trouble with the law before, but he is still an important part of the family business. Adam Harrison is another grandchild. He used to work at the pawn shop, but now works as a handyman. A few of the grandkids, like Jake and Serena Harrison, stay out of the public eye. Also, Richard had 2 grandchildren, Jennifer Lambert Harrison and Tabitha Cottingham. They were born to his son Chris. Jennifer works as a personal assistant at the pawn shop, which means that more members of the family are involved with the business. It was deeply important to Richard Harrison to love old cars. It was more than just a hobby for them to love old cars. It had always interested me. Richard loved gathering and fixing up these classic machines. He got a lot of pleasure from both the process and the end result. On the weekends, he would often get these beautiful machines up and running to make sure they were more than just showpieces and could actually do work. From his first car, a 1950 Plymouth four-door that used to be a Baltimore taxicab, to his beloved 1935 and 1936 Packards. Richard's collection showed how much he loved and cared for old cars. His collection of old cars wasn't just about having rare cars, it was also about remembering the style and charm of a different time. Richard liked how these old cars were made, and how they had unique styles. He often compared them to newer cars. Even though today's cars have a lot of high-tech features, he thought they missed the unique style that made his old collection so special. A 1966 Chrysler Imperial was one of his favorites. He thought it was a very rare and fun car. He didn't just keep his cars as awards. Richard believed that these pieces of history should be lived through, not just praised, so they were driven and enjoyed. Richard was really into cars, not just owning them. It gave him great pleasure to drive them. He usually drives a different car on the weekends, to keep the ones he has in good shape. This was more than just cleaning. He got a lot of pleasure from doing it every day. An important part of his life was driving these old cars, and enjoying the history and workmanship of each one. No matter how old he got, starting up one of his old cars, and going for a drive never bore him. Along with his love of cars, Richard Harrison's entrepreneurial energy and TV fame helped him build up a large net worth. His successful businesses, especially the gold and silver pawn shop, and his roles on Pawn Stars, helped him build up a $8 million net worth. This huge statue shows how hard he worked, how strong he was, and how he turned a small pawn shop into a worldwide sensation. Richard stayed grounded. Even though he was famous and rich, he finds happiness in easy things like driving old cars and running his pawn shop. His legacy continues to motivate us, telling us that the best way to be successful is to follow your dreams and keep going even when things get